You can say no to protect your peace and still say yes to love. Saying yes to everything leads to exhaustion, especially around the holidays. This episode will help you build healthy boundaries that protect your peace, your sanity, and relationships without the guilt that often comes with saying no. Hi, my name is Marian Amwa, and here we talk about issues. We talk about you thriving as an immigrant in the workplace and in life. Welcome again. Today I have a specialist, no stranger to our Breaking Through community, Dr. Rosalind Caesar, who would provide us with some tools, tips, and resources, to help us set boundaries, right? To know how to set boundaries, to help us not feel guilty when we say no or when we say yes, and to come up with boundaries with confidence. Dr. Caesar, welcome. Can you introduce yourself to anyone watching you for the first time on this platform and give us a fun fact about yourself?
Thank you very much, Marian. My name is Rosalind Caesar. I'm a clinical counselor. I have a private practice, counseling, where I see youth, families, and adults. And I'm also executive director at Lighthouse Youth and Family Services. I work in Maryland. Fun fact about myself, I like to be mischievous.
Please, today, no mischief here. Welcome again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So many people feel selfish, feel some way. Many people feel a certain way when they have to say no. They feel guilty. They feel like I should say they feel like they are being selfish. The holidays are upon us. We are in December. What do they do? How can you set boundaries without feeling guilty?
So I will start by saying that there is a book that I love. It is called Boundaries. Simple name, Boundaries. It is by Henry Cloud and John Townsend, and I use it all the time. I think it's the best book I've come across on boundaries. If you want to learn about boundaries, that's a good book. I like to tell people it was written by Christians, so it has a lot of references to Christian. If you are even if you are not a Christian, that is a very good book. Just overlook the references because they just biblical references, they just give context, but the principles are perfect. So if you want a book on boundaries, that's the go-to book. Now, think of boundaries as fences or lines that tell us where something begins and where something ends. And boundaries are everywhere in the world, in life, in nature. There's the beach and there's the sea. Okay, there's the edge of a forest, there's a meadow, there's a pasture. We can tell where things start and where things end, and they help us to think about what needs to happen, what we need to do in those spaces. If I am on the beach, my expectation of my behavior is very different from if I am actually in the water. That boundary, knowing that this is a beach and that is the river or that is the sea, tells me something. When we set boundaries, we are communicating expectations to other people. And so I'm sure that you've heard the saying, good fences make good neighbors. Boundaries are fences. They tell my neighbor, this is my house, this is where it ends. So you can come here and you can't come here. If we don't have boundaries, then people don't know where they can come and where they can't come. So they're going to make demands of us based on their need, not on our need or what is good for us. So when you think of boundaries, think of it as you're putting a line there so that everybody knows where what is. When we set boundaries, the goal of setting boundaries is to say yes to good things, yeah, and to say no to bad things. Boundaries are not supposed to be, we just put a wall there and it's just there. No, boundaries are supposed to be flexible depending on the situation so that sometimes we say yes, sometimes we say no, or there are situations where it is always no. I don't lie. That's an always no. Yeah, I don't steal. That's an always no. Yeah. We don't cut our neighbors' ties. Those are boundaries. So in a certain sense, we can set boundaries around every aspect of our lives. We can set boundaries around the language we use. Yeah. I don't talk like this. That's a boundary you can set for yourself. I don't behave like this. That's a boundary you set for yourself. We can set boundaries in our relationships. In a relationship, I don't do this and nobody's allowed to do that to me. That's a boundary. You can set boundary around your finances. I don't spend my money on this kind of thing, or nobody can spend my money doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So a boundary is basically drawing a line so that you can communicate a message about what your expectations are. Now, a lot of times we feel selfish because we think that if I don't say yes right now, or I don't do the thing you are asking me, I'm depriving you of something. Yes, sometimes we may have to deprive somebody of something, but whenever we are setting boundaries, our goal should be in the long term. In the long term, what is the purpose? Because if I say yes to the thing you're asking me to do now, in the long term, is it going to create more problems for me or you or both of us? A good example. Now, how many of us would rather go to somebody who is not trained? Okay. But they are very passionate, they're very excited. I am injured, and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do, but I've always wanted to take care of hurt people. So come on, let me do something to you. Versus somebody who says, you know what, let me go read. Because I haven't done this in a while. Let me go read a little, let me get some information and come back and take care of you. I think most of us will pick the second person because we don't want somebody messing with us. That is what boundaries are supposed to. That second person set a boundary. They said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to say no to you right now. I know you are in pain. I know you are sick, but I'm not going to do anything to you. I'm going to go make sure I have it all right, and then I'm going to come back to you. The first person had no boundaries. You needed help, they jumped in. No idea what they were doing, but they jumped in. You may end up without a leg in the long run because they didn't know what they're doing. So when we set boundaries, the purpose of setting boundaries is to make sure that we are protected and other people are protected. Because we, like you said, we can't be all things to all men at all times. We don't have the physical capacity to do that.
That's right.
Okay. And if we don't set boundaries, again, if we are worn out, we are of no use to anybody. Yes. So if I spend all today helping other people and I don't rest, I will not be available tomorrow to help anybody. So at some point today, I'm going to have to tell some people that you need to go home and come tomorrow because I'm exhausted. That's a boundary. Okay. So when we think about boundaries, instead of thinking of it as I am preventing other people, we need to think, you said, what kind of mindsets do we need? We need to think of boundaries as the thing that I put in place so that I can be my best self to help as many people as possible. I cannot be my best self if I'm worn out. I cannot help as many people if I'm worn out. And so it is really important for us to be able to do that, to be able to set those lines in place. Again, it's another way of thinking about it as boundaries are supposed to be there so that my choices create problems for me and only me. Your choices create problems for you and only you. Your choices should not create problems for me. My choices should not create problems for you. If we're doing that, then we have a boundary issue.
Well, I'm already thinking that we need a very long conversation for this and maybe use Henry Cloud's book. I know I have a copy. Okay, so you have defined boundaries, and I really like that the beach analogy. Maybe say it again because when you said it at first, I was like,
Okay, so I said that boundaries define spaces for us and allow us to and set expectations for us. If I'm standing on a beach, I have a totally different expectation of my behavior than if I am in the water. Because if I'm in the water, I'm expecting I should be swimming, I should be keeping my head above water. I should not be going too far out. If there are sharks in that water, if there are riptides in that water, all those things are because there is a line between the beach and the water. I know that when I cross that line, there's a different behavior that's expected.
Fantastic.
And that's what boundaries are. They help us to set expectations.
They help us to set expectation. Speak to the immigrant, the career-driven individual. Boundaries at work. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Okay. So boundaries at work. In the beginning, I talked about how we can set boundaries for ourselves and we can set boundaries for other people. Okay. At work, we need to have boundaries on ourselves. I am a career person. How far do I want to be driven out by my career? I have to have a boundary. If you're a career person with a family, you have to have a boundary. How far do you want to go with your career at the cost of your family? Yes. How little career do you want to pursue so that you can focus on your family? Those are all boundary issues that you have to define for yourself. Then there is the expectations at work. You have to draw boundaries. Can your boss call you at 12 midnight? If you are not a physician who is on call, should somebody be calling you at 12 midnight? Should people just be leaving their work and done because you're part of a team, because they know you will always do it? Those are all boundary issues that you have to create in your workplace. Otherwise, you become overworked.
Okay.
Again, the flip side of it is that we tend to think of boundaries as me setting it for people. And there's the question of people who don't respect other people's boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you are on the team, then you should respect that everybody gets to do the same amount of work.
Yeah.
You don't do less work because you know that somebody else will take your slack.
Wow.
That's not right either.
That's so
Yes.
good.
And that means that you don't have boundaries around your work ethics. So you don't put a line around, I don't do less work than I'm supposed to do or I'm expected to do. So even in the workplace, there are different types of boundaries that we have to set in terms of how work relates to our personal lives, our family lives, things like that. If I'm sick, do I still go to work because,
Yes. Yes.
or
That's
do I take the day off?
okay. Oh, we need to go deep on this conversation. If you don't mind, you will come again. Now,
Sure.
let's just land because we are talking about the December hustle and bustle and trying to keep our sanity. Help us to create some boundaries. How do we create boundaries during this Christmas season? There'll be lots of invitations in a session that you talked about reprioritizing how you see gifts and how you give gifts. So help us. How do we create boundaries during this season? When to say no, when to say yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So in this season, I think the biggest thing in this season, like we talked about earlier, is the bustle, running around. In order to set boundaries, you have to be intentional. You have to really think, what do I want the expectation to be? What message do I want to communicate with the boundary? Yes, because if you don't communicate the right thing, then you're not going to get the right response. So in this holiday season, what message do you want to communicate? Do you want the message to be, you know what, I'm chill, I'm calm this holiday? Or do you want it to be, I am running helter skelter trying to find everything? What message do you want to? Once you define your message and the expectation you want to set, then you know where you need to put the boundaries. So for instance, if your message is that, we are not blowing the budget, that right there defines a certain boundary for you, because it tells you that your money is going to be it kind of defines the amount of money that's going to be spent. Then you have set the expectation and you can work within that space. Is the expectation, am I going to set a boundary to say that, you know what, I'm only going to do so much and I'm not going to go beyond this number of gifts? Then once that defines it for you and you set the number at 10, then the task for you becomes, okay, who is going to count as 10? And then you define who counts in the 10. But without boundaries, it means that we are trying to do everything. It's almost like somebody said, just run. And there is no tape. There is no endings. You just keep going. You're going to keep running till you wear yourself out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Whoa. This has been so good. Be intentional. Define the boundaries and what message are you trying to communicate? Dr. Caesar, I think I need to have you back again, but I promise you, our community, I believe that we need to have a session on boundaries because it's really vast. We probably will take a couple of books, including Henry Cloud and John Townsend's book. But thank you so much once again. I want to land the plane and I want to ask another question. But if you have any closing remarks, what do you want to tell the audience about these boundaries? Just a line or two, and then we'll land the plane.
So I will say that a lot of times when you start setting boundaries, people don't respond well. Well, because you have never set boundaries. You have always been the person we came to when we needed anything, and you always offered to do it. So when you start saying, no, I can't do it, some people will not take kindly to it. But like I said, boundaries define expectations. After a while, people come to realize that, oh, you can't just go asking her at the last minute to do something for you. She's not going to do it. And so they will stop. Now they have a totally different expectation of you. And you are in a place where you are able to accept those requests with time enough to add it to your schedule and your life so that you don't end up stressed up. Again, the point of setting boundaries is to make sure that you are your best self.
Yes.
So that you can be the best help you can to other people.
Yes. Thank you so much. The point about setting boundaries so that you can be your best self, conserve energy, and be able to reach out to others and help them. Define your boundaries. What message are you communicating? Think about it this December. And as you go into 2026, this is an all-important topic. But Dr. Caesar, thank you so much for joining us. Now tell us in the comment, which boundary are you going to, which fence, in a positive way, are you going to put up? What are you going to be intentional about? What are you going to say no? And what are you going to say yes to? Thank you once again for watching us, joining us today. And please remember to subscribe if you haven't, like our videos, leave a comment, and watch our series on emotional intelligence, psychological safety, and on mental health. Thank you, and we'll see you again in our next video.